The signal from beyond. Captain Elena Markov stood motionless on the command deck of the UNSS Harbinger, her eyes fixed on the pulsing red icon flashing on the main display. For 3 consecutive days, the same signal had been broadcasting from a region of space humans had been explicitly warned to avoid. The signal followed the Universal Distress Protocol. 3 short pulses, 3 long, 3 short again. The cosmic equivalent of an SOS that dated back to Earth's earliest days of sea travel. "Still coming in, Captain," said Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel, the ship's communications officer. His fingers danced across his console as he analyzed the incoming data. "Signal strength hasn't changed. Whatever's out there, they've got enough power to keep broadcasting." Elena nodded, her short dark hair catching the blue glow from the tactical displays. The Harbinger was the pride of the United Nations Space Service fleet, a destroyer-class vessel with experimental weaponry and defense systems that had earned it the nickname, the dangerous ship among both allies and potential adversaries. It was designed to project human power and preserve human interests in an increasingly crowded galaxy. It was not, however, supposed to be this close to the Zeta Reticuli border. "How far are we from the edge of restricted space?" Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. She'd been watching the distance counter tick down for the past hour. 8 light minutes, Captain, replied Navigator Chen from her station. "If we maintain current speed, we'll cross over in approximately 20 minutes. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. 6 months ago, the diplomatic corps had negotiated a fragile non-aggression pact with several species that claimed territory in this sector. The agreement was simple. Humans stayed out of this region, and the various alien factions would not challenge human expansion elsewhere. Entering restricted space would be a direct violation of those terms. "Play it again," Elena ordered. The sound filled the bridge, an eerie mechanical pattern of beeps and tones that somehow managed to convey desperation despite its mathematical precision. Elena had heard distress calls before, but this one felt different, more urgent, more final. Commander Alexei Volkov, her first officer and oldest friend, stepped closer to her chair. "Orders from UNSS Command are crystal clear, Captain," he said quietly. "No human vessels are to enter restricted space under any circumstances, even for distress signals." Elena nodded again. "I'm aware of our orders, Commander." With respect, Volkov persisted. "This could be a trap. We have no confirmed information about what species might be operating in that sector. It could be the Achernar Coalition testing our resolve, or even pirates using a distress signal as bait." Dr. Maya Santos, the ship's xenobiologist, spoke up from the science station. "It's also possible that someone genuinely needs help, Commander. The Universal Distress Protocol was established precisely because it transcends species boundaries. It's meant to be honored regardless of political considerations." Elena raised a hand, silencing the brewing argument. The responsibility of command weighed heavily on her shoulders. She'd spent 15 years in the UNSS, rising through the ranks by following orders and respecting boundaries. Yet the most fundamental principles of space travel, principles that predated human interstellar flight, demanded that ships respond to distress calls when possible. "How long would it take us to reach the signal source?" she asked. Navigator Chen consulted her instruments. "At maximum burn, approximately 7 hours, Captain." Elena made her decision. "Plot the course." Volkov's expression tightened. "Captain, I must formally register my objection. This action directly contravenes UNSS Command's standing orders regarding restricted space." "Your objection is noted, Commander." Elena's voice was calm but firm. "Log it in the official record, but also log this. Space law is clear. All vessels must respond to distress signals when capable of rendering aid without endangering their own crew. That law supersedes even military orders." She stood and addressed the entire bridge crew. "I understand the risks we're taking. If anyone wishes to register a formal objection alongside Commander Volkov, now is the time. I'll ensure your objections are recorded in my log." The bridge remained silent. Elena nodded, unsurprised. She had handpicked most of this crew, and they shared her belief in the principles that had guided human exploration since the first ships sailed Earth's oceans. Navigator Chen, execute course change. Maximum sustainable burn. Communications, continue monitoring that signal for any changes or additional information. Tactical, I want continuous long-range scans. If anything moves out there, I want to know about it before it knows about us. The crew acknowledged their orders and turned to their tasks with renewed focus. And Commander, Elena added, turning to Volkov, prepare a message to UNSS Command. Inform them of our decision and estimated return time. Make it clear that I take full responsibility. Yes, Captain, Volkov replied, the formality in his voice masking the concern Elena knew he felt. As the Harbinger's massive engines reoriented and ignited with greater intensity, Elena returned to her command chair. She had 18 years of experience, had faced down pirates, and participated in 3 interstellar conflicts. Yet something about this mission felt different, a premonition she couldn't shake, as if the Harbinger was accelerating toward a turning point not just for her career, but potentially for human history. 6 hours into their journey, Elena sat in her ready room reviewing all available data on the restricted sector. It wasn't much. Astronomical surveys, some long-range sensor readings, and diplomatic briefings that were frustratingly light on specifics. The various alien powers that had claimed this region had been deliberately vague about their territories and spheres of influence. The door chimed. Enter, Elena called. Dr. Santos stepped inside, carrying a data tablet. Captain, I've been analyzing the distress signal, and I found something unusual. Elena gestured to the chair across from her desk. Show me. The xenobiologist sat down and placed her tablet on the desk, turning it so Elena could see the display. I've been running pattern analysis on the signal. There's a secondary data stream embedded within the main broadcast. It was cleverly hidden in what appeared to be random fluctuations. Elena leaned forward, examining the waveforms on the screen. What kind of data? Images, primarily, Dr. Santos replied, swiping to reveal a series of grainy, distorted pictures. They're heavily degraded, but our computers have been able to enhance them somewhat. Elena's breath caught as she studied the images. They showed what appeared to be a spacecraft, large, with an organic, flowing design unlike any human vessel. Parts of its hull were visibly damaged. Around it, smaller ships with angular, aggressive designs seemed to be attacking. Neither of these match any known species ship designs in our database, Dr. Santos said. The damaged vessel has some architectural elements reminiscent of the Arcturian trading ships we've encountered, but the overall structure is different. And the attacking vessels, she shook her head. Nothing in our records matches them. Elena studied the images more closely. This suggests we're potentially dealing with at least one species unknown to humanity. Yes, and whoever sent this signal wanted us, or whoever received it, to know they were under attack. Any sign of who might have been attacking them or why? Dr. Santos shook her head again. No, just these images. Have you shared this with anyone else? No, Captain. I came directly to you. Elena nodded. Keep it that way for now. I don't want speculation running through the ship until we know more. She handed the tablet back to the scientist. Good work, Doctor. Keep analyzing. See if there's anything else hidden in that signal. After Dr. Santos left, Elena turned to the viewport in her ready room. The stars streaked by as the Harbinger hurtled through space at speeds that would have seemed impossible to humans just a century earlier. Somewhere ahead, someone, or something, was sending a desperate plea for help, and they had included evidence of an attack by unknown assailants. Elena couldn't shake the feeling that the Harbinger was racing towards something much bigger than a simple rescue mission. Captain to the bridge, Volkov's voice came through the intercom, interrupting her thoughts. We're approaching the signal source. When Elena stepped onto the bridge a minute later, the crew was already at high alert. The main view screen showed only stars and the blackness of space, but sensor readings indicated a large object directly ahead. "Report," Elena ordered, taking her seat. "Large vessel detected at the coordinates of the distress signal," reported Lieutenant Keller from the tactical station. "It's not moving. Minimal power readings. And Captain, it's big. At least twice the size of the Harbinger. Life signs. Difficult to get clear readings at this distance, but preliminary scans suggest yes, though they appear weak and scattered throughout the vessel. Any other ships in the vicinity?" "Negative, Captain. If there were attackers here, they're gone now." Elena considered her options. The logical course would be to approach cautiously, maintain a safe distance, and try to establish communication before committing further. But if the life signs were weak, time might be running out for the survivors. "Take us in, half impulse. Maintain defensive shields at maximum. All weapons systems on standby. But do not target unless I give the order." The Harbinger moved forward slowly, sensors probing the darkness ahead. As they drew closer, the alien ship gradually became visible on the view screen. Collective gasps sounded across the bridge as the full vessel came into view. It was unlike anything humans had ever encountered. Where human ships tended toward functional, geometric designs, this vessel had an almost organic quality. Its silver-blue hull flowed in curves and spirals, with no obvious seams or construction points. It looked less like a manufactured object and more like a massive sea creature that had somehow evolved to survive in the vacuum of space. And it was wounded. Great tears marred its beautiful surface, revealing darkened interiors where emergency force fields sparkled weakly, struggling to maintain atmospheric integrity. Parts of the ship seemed to be slowly pulsing, as if the vessel itself were a living thing fighting to stay alive. "Magnify damaged sections," Elena ordered. The view screen shifted, focusing on one of the larger breaches in the hull. The damage pattern was consistent with weapons fire, powerful directed energy weapons that had burned through the ship's defenses. "Any sign of the attacking vessels from the images?" "No, Captain," replied Lieutenant Keller. "Long-range scans show no other ships within sensor range." Elena stood and approached the view screen, studying the damaged alien vessel. "Try hailing them. All frequencies. Universal first contact protocols." Lieutenant Commander Patel worked his console, broadcasting first contact greeting and identification, "Captain." For several long moments, there was no response. Then suddenly, the communication system activated. "Captain," Patel said, his voice betraying his surprise, "we're receiving a response. Audio and visual." Elena straightened her uniform. On screen. The view screen shifted again, now showing the interior of what appeared to be the alien vessel's command center. Unlike the sleek, technology-filled bridge of the Harbinger, this space had an almost cathedral-like quality, with soaring ceilings and flowing architecture. But the beauty was marred by damage. Panels torn from walls, flickering lights, and what appeared to be the aftermath of a fire in one section. Standing in the center of this damaged space was a being unlike any Elena had encountered in her years of space service. Tall and slender, with iridescent skin that shifted between shades of blue and silver, the alien had 4 arms and a face that seemed almost too perfectly symmetrical to be natural. Large, almond-shaped eyes with no visible pupils dominated its features. "I am Captain Elena Markov of the United Nations Space Service vessel Harbinger," Elena said, keeping her voice calm and measured. "We received your distress signal and have come to render assistance." The alien regarded her silently for a moment, then spoke. Its voice was melodious, with an almost musical quality that made the universal translator struggle momentarily before finding the right patterns. "I am Sentinel Talon of the Naleth exploration vessel Luminous Harmony," the alien replied. "We did not send a distress signal, Captain Markov." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She exchanged a quick glance with Volkov, whose hand had moved subtly closer to his sidearm. "We've been receiving a distress call from your exact coordinates for 3 days. Alina explained carefully. It contained embedded images of your ship under attack. The alien, Talon, tilted his head in what might have been confusion or consideration. Our communications array was severely damaged in the attack. We lost control of many ship systems. He paused, his large eyes blinking slowly. The ones who attacked us must have activated the signal. Who attacked you? Alina asked. We call them the Dominion, Talon replied. A species that believes themselves destined to rule this sector of space. They have been systematically eliminating or subjugating all sentient species they encounter. We Nalath have mostly avoided them until now, as our territories did not overlap. But they have been expanding rapidly. Elena was about to ask another question when alarms suddenly blared across both ships. Lieutenant Keller's voice cut through the noise. Captain, multiple vessels appearing on sensors. They weren't there a second ago. They just appeared. They're closing fast and charging weapons. On the view screen, Talon turned to consult one of his own crew. When he looked back at Alina, his expression was impossible to read, but his voice carried a new urgency. The Dominion has returned, Captain Markov, and they have trapped both our species together. Lieutenant Keller's voice rose with tension. Incoming transmission from the lead vessel, Captain. On screen, Alina ordered, her mind racing through tactical options. The image of Talon was replaced by another alien figure, this one with gray, leathery skin, a pronounced bony ridge running from the top of its head down its spine, and eyes that glowed a dull red. When it spoke, the voice was harsh and grating, even through the translator. Human vessel, the alien said, its mouth forming what might have been a smile, but looked more like a predatory snarl. You have violated sovereign Dominion space and interfered with our military operation against known enemies. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Alina's eyes narrowed. This was no coincidence. The distress signal, the timing of the attack, everything pointed to a carefully orchestrated trap. But why target both humans and these Nihileth? This is Captain Markov of the UNSS Harbinger, she replied, keeping her voice steady. We responded to a distress call, as required by interstellar law. We have no hostile intentions toward your people. The Dominion commander's expression didn't change. You have 10 of your minutes to surrender your vessel, or we will destroy both you and the Nalath criminals you are attempting to assist. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge of the Harbinger in momentary silence. Battle stations, Alina ordered, her voice calm but carrying an unmistakable edge of steel. Tactical, I want full analysis of those vessels, weapons capabilities, shield strengths, vulnerabilities. Communications, re-establish contact with the Nalath ship. As her crew moved with practiced efficiency, Alina felt time slowing around her. In the space of a few minutes, what had begun as a humanitarian mission had transformed into a potential flashpoint for interstellar conflict. Whatever happened next would likely change the course of human history forever. On the view screen, Talon's image reappeared. Captain Markov, the alien said, I regret that our first meeting occurs under such circumstances. It appears we are now both targets of the Dominion. So it seems, Alina replied. And I suspect that was their plan all along. The declaration. The tactical display on the Harbinger's bridge flashed red as 3 Dominion warships moved into attack formation. Their sleek, predatory shapes were utterly alien, yet their purpose was unmistakable. They were designed for one thing: war. Shields at maximum, Lieutenant Keller reported from the tactical station. Weapons hot and ready. We're outgunned 3-1, Captain. Alina studied the display, her mind calculating trajectories and strategies. The Dominion vessels had positioned themselves strategically, one directly between the Harbinger and the damaged Nalath ship, the others flanking to cut off escape routes. It was a classic containment formation. They're not just trying to destroy us, Alina observed. They're hurting us. Commander Volkov nodded grimly, pushing us deeper into their claimed territory. If we survive, they can paint us as the aggressors. a human warship violating their space and attacking their vessels. A perfect pretext for war, Elena concluded. On the view screen, Sentinel Talon's four-armed figure maintained a remarkable composure despite the dire situation. Captain Markov, the Dominion specializes in such manipulations. They have used similar tactics against 4 other species in this sector over the past decade. Our sensors show their weapons charging, Elena replied. Do your ship's defenses still function? Partially, Talon said. Our primary shield generators are operational, but at reduced capacity. Offensive capabilities are minimal. Elena quickly assessed their options. The Harbinger was powerful, but facing 3 enemy vessels while trying to protect the damaged Nalaf ship put them at a severe disadvantage. Running wasn't an option. Even if they could outpace the Dominion ships, it would mean abandoning the Nalaf to certain destruction. Can your sensors detect anything unusual about their ships? Elena asked. Any vulnerabilities we might exploit? Talon conferred briefly with another Nalaf before responding. Their vessels utilize a crystalline power matrix that generates an unusual energy signature. Our scientists have theorized that a precisely modulated tachyon pulse might disrupt their shield harmonics, but we have never had the opportunity to test this theory. Lieutenant Commander Patel looked up from his console. Captain, we could potentially reconfigure our deflector array to generate such a pulse, but it would require diverting power from shields. Before Elena could respond, the tactical alert blared again. Incoming, Keller shouted. All 3 vessels firing. Evasive pattern Delta, Elena ordered, gripping her command chair as the Harbinger twisted sharply to port, its inertial dampener struggling to compensate for the sudden maneuver. The view screen flashed as energy beams lanced through space. 2 missed entirely, but the third struck the Harbinger's starboard shields, causing the entire ship to shudder. Shields holding at 82%, reported Lieutenant Keller. Minor damage to outer hull plating, sections C7 through C12. Return fire, Elena commanded. Target the lead vessel's propulsion systems. I want precision strikes, not maximum damage. The Harbinger's main cannons discharge, sending brilliant blue energy streaking toward the Dominion vessel. The shots connected, but the enemy shields flared and held. Their shields are stronger than our initial scans indicated, Keller said, frustration evident in his voice. Minimal damage to their systems. Elena turned to Volkov. We need that tachyon pulse. Can we generate it while maintaining enough shield strength to survive another barrage? Volkov consulted with engineering via his console. Chief Engineer Rice says it's possible, but we'd be down to about 60% shield efficiency during the reconfiguration. It would take approximately 4 minutes to make the necessary adjustments. 4 minutes we might not have, Elena muttered, watching as the Dominion ships regrouped for another attack run. A new alert sounded from the communication station. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from UNSS Command, Paddle reported. They've detected our position in restricted space. Of course they have, Elena said. Put it through to my private channel. While maintaining her focus on the tactical situation, Elena listened to the message through her neural implant. Admiral Joe's voice was cold with anger and concern. Captain Markov, you are in direct violation of standing orders. You are to withdraw from restricted space immediately. That is a direct order. With respect, Admiral, Elena subvocalized through the implant. We are engaged with hostile forces and rendering assistance to a damaged vessel. Withdrawal is not currently possible without abandoning survivors. The diplomatic situation is extremely delicate, Captain. Admiral Zhao replied. Your presence there could be interpreted as an act of war by multiple species. I believe that was precisely the intent, Admiral, Elena responded. We appear to have uncovered a deliberate attempt by a species calling themselves the Dominion to provoke conflict between humans and other powers in this sector. I am sending you the data we've gathered. With a thought, Elena instructed her implant to transmit the sensor readings, images from the distress signal, and everything they'd learned about the Dominion's trap. Stand by for further orders, Admiral Zhou said after a long pause. In the meantime, avoid escalation if possible. Understood, Admiral. Elena replied, though she knew avoiding escalation might no longer be an option. Returning her full attention to the bridge, Elena found her crew awaiting her next decision. The Dominion ships were moving again, taking up new positions that would give them overlapping fields of fire. We don't have time to wait for command, Elena declared. Begin reconfiguring the deflector array for the tachyon pulse. Tactical, prepare a defensive pattern to maximize shield coverage of our most vulnerable areas, and open a channel to Sentinel Talon. When the Nalath leader appeared on screen, Elena spoke quickly. Sentinel, we're going to attempt to disrupt their shields with a tachyon pulse, but we'll be vulnerable during the process. Can your vessel provide any defensive support? Our offensive capabilities are limited, Talon replied, but we may be able to offer another form of assistance. The Nalath have developed advanced stealth technology. We could extend a stealth field around your vessel for a short period, potentially concealing your actions from the Dominion sensors. Elena's eyebrows rose in surprise. That would be extremely helpful. How quickly can you implement this? The field can be established in approximately 2 of your minutes, but it will only last for perhaps 6 minutes before our damaged systems can no longer sustain it. That should be enough time, Elena said. Begin when ready. As the Nalath worked to extend their stealth field, Elena gathered her senior officers for a rapid strategy session. Once we're concealed, they'll lose their targeting lock, but they'll still know roughly where we are, she explained. They'll likely blanket the area with weapons fire. We need to use the confusion to reposition ourselves advantageously. Where exactly should we reposition to, Captain? Navigator Chen asked. Elena pointed to a spot on the tactical display. Here, between the 2 flanking vessels. When the stealth field drops, we'll fire the tachyon pulse, then immediately target both ships simultaneously. That's a risky maneuver, Volkov observed. If the pulse doesn't work as the Nalath theorize, we'll be caught between 2 enemy vessels with reduced shields. True, Elena acknowledged. But if we stay where we are, they'll eventually overwhelm us through sheer firepower. Sometimes the greatest risk is taking no risk at all. Her officers nodded, understanding the logic even if they didn't all agree with the gamble. What about the Nalath vessel? Dr. Santos asked. They're in no condition to maneuver rapidly. The Dominion seems focused primarily on us at the moment, Elena replied. Once we draw their fire, the Nalath should have an opportunity to begin withdrawal. Ensure Sentinel Talon understands the plan. As her officers returned to their stations, Elena felt the familiar tension that preceded combat. Not fear, but a heightened awareness, a clarity of purpose that made every decision seem crystalline in its simplicity. Lives depended on her choices now, not just her crew's lives, but potentially those of 2 entire species. Captain, Patel called out. The Nalath report they're ready to engage the stealth field. Tell them to proceed, Elena ordered, then addressed the entire bridge. All hands, prepare for rapid maneuvering on my mark. The view screen showed the Dominion vessels continuing their approach. Suddenly, a subtle shimmer passed over the bridge, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The lights dimmed momentarily as the alien technology interfaced with the Harbinger systems. Stealth field active, Patel confirmed. Dominion vessels are showing signs of sensor confusion. On the tactical display, the enemy ships had stopped their advance. Their formations became less coordinated as they adjusted to the sudden disappearance of their target. Now, Navigator, Elena commanded. Full impulse. Execute pattern lambda. The Harbinger surged forward, its powerful engines propelling it in a complex evasive pattern designed to further confuse any attempts to track it. As they moved, the Dominion ships began firing blindly, energy weapons scaring the vacuum where the Harbinger had been moments before. Deflector modifications at 70% completion, reported Lieutenant Keller. 2 more minutes required. Elena watched as Navigator Chen skillfully guided the ship through the deadly gauntlet of random fire, gradually positioning them exactly where Alina had indicated, a spot equidistant between two of the Dominion vessels. Stealth field integrity at 40% and falling, Patil warned. The Nalath report they cannot maintain it much longer. Understood, Alina replied. Status of the tachyon pulse. Ready in 30 seconds, Captain, Keller said. The ship rocked suddenly as a lucky shot from one of the Dominion vessels grazed their port side. Direct hit, Keller called out. Shields at 54%, and the stealth field is failing. Hold position, Alina ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. Prepare to fire the pulse on my command, followed immediately by full weapons barrage, targets pre-designated. The tactical display showed the stealth field collapsing, the Harbinger becoming visible to enemy sensors once more. The Dominion ships immediately began adjusting their positions, but they had not yet realized the human vessel was now positioned to strike at two of their ships simultaneously. Stealth field critical, Patil reported. Failing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As the field collapsed completely, Alina gave the order, fire tachyon pulse. Now. The Harbinger's deflector dish emitted an invisible wave of tachyon particles, precisely modulated to the frequency Talon had suggested. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The shields of all three Dominion vessels flickered, energy patterns destabilizing, as the crystalline matrices at their cores briefly lost coherence. Enemy shields at 20% efficiency, Keller announced triumphantly. The pulse worked. All weapons, fire, Alina commanded. The Harbinger unleashed its full arsenal, energy weapons and projectiles streaking toward the suddenly vulnerable Dominion ships. The impacts were devastating. One vessel's propulsion system exploded in a brilliant flash, sending it spinning helplessly. The second took multiple hits to its command section, its lights flickering as systems failed throughout the ship. The third vessel, however, had been positioned slightly farther away. Its shields, while weakened, had not failed completely. It returned fire, catching the Harbinger with a powerful energy beam that sliced through the weakened shields and carved a furrow along the hull. Hull breach on decks 7 and 8. Volkov reported as damage control alerts flashed across his console. Emergency force fields engage. Casualties reported in engineering section. Alina gripped her chair as the ship shuddered under the impact. Target all remaining weapons on that third vessel. We need to neutralize its offensive capabilities. Before the order could be carried out, however, a new energy signature appeared on their sensors. Brilliant golden beams lanced out from the damaged Nalath ship, striking the third Dominion vessel with surprising force. Its shields, already compromised by the tachyon pulse, collapsed entirely, and the golden energy seemed to envelope the ship rather than simply impact it. The Nalath are using some kind of energy weapon we've never seen before, Dr. Santos observed, staring at her readings in fascination. It's not just damaging their ship, it's somehow interfering with their power distribution network. True enough, the Dominion vessel's lights and engines were failing, system by system, until it hung in space as powerless as its companions. Alina opened a channel to the Nalath ship. Sentinel Talon, I thought your offensive capabilities were minimal. Talon's image appeared, looking somewhat weary but resolute. I said our offensive capabilities were limited, Captain Markov. We prefer not to use our disruption technology, except in the most dire circumstances. It is not something we take pride in. Alina nodded, understanding the distinction. Many species had technologies they considered too brutal or ethically questionable for regular use. Humanity had its own list of such weapons. Captain, Patil interrupted, we're being hailed by the lead Dominion vessel. On screen, Alina ordered. The Dominion commander appeared, its leathery face now showing signs of injury, a dark fluid trickling from a cut near its eye ridge. The hatred in its glowing eyes was unmistakable. This is not over, human, the alien snarled. You have committed an act of war against the Dominion. Your species will pay the price for this interference. Elena met its gaze steadily. We responded to a distress call and defended ourselves against unprovoked attack. Our sensor logs show clearly that you fired first and that you deliberately lured us here. The Nalath records will confirm this. No one will believe the words of Nalath deceivers. The Dominion commander spat. They are known liars who have resisted Dominion authority for too long. Perhaps, Elena replied calmly. But I suspect the other species in this sector will be very interested to learn about your attempts to manipulate them into conflict with each other. Divide and conquer is an old strategy, Commander, but it only works when your targets remain ignorant of it. The Dominion commander's eyes narrowed. You understand nothing of galactic politics, human. Your species is young and naive. The Dominion has ruled these stars for millennia, and we will continue to do so long after your civilization has crumbled to dust. Maybe, Elena conceded with a slight shrug. But today, your ships are disabled, and we are not. I suggest you focus on repairs rather than threats. She signaled Paddle to cut the transmission. Tactical assessment, she requested as the view screen returned to an exterior view of the damaged Dominion vessels. All 3 enemy ships are effectively neutralized, Keller reported. Their weapons are offline, propulsion systems severely damaged. They pose no immediate threat, but their distress beacons are active. They're calling for reinforcements. How long until those reinforcements could arrive? Unknown, Captain. We have limited intelligence on Dominion fleet positions. Elena nodded and opened a channel to the Nalath ship once more. Sentinel Talon, we've neutralized the immediate threat, but we need to leave this area before Dominion reinforcements arrive. Is your ship capable of faster-than-light travel? Our primary drive was damaged in the initial attack, Talon replied. We can achieve only approximately 60% of our normal faster-than-light velocity. That won't be fast enough, Elena said, thinking quickly. If you're willing to trust us, we could establish a Tau field and bring your vessel with us back to the nearest human outpost. Our engineers might be able to assist with repairs. Talon conferred briefly with others off-screen before responding. We accept your offer, Captain Markov. The Nalath Council will want to establish formal relations with your species. It appears we now share a common adversary. As the crew of the Harbinger worked to establish the necessary Tau field to bring the damaged Nalath vessel with them, Elena retreated to her ready room to make her report to UNSS Command. The situation had evolved far beyond a simple rescue mission, and the implications would reverberate throughout human space. Admiral Joe's holographic image appeared above her desk, his expression grave. Captain Markov, I've reviewed the data you transmitted. This is an extremely delicate situation. I understand, Admiral. The Dominion presents a threat not just to humanity, but to stability throughout this sector. Their manipulation tactics have been noted, Zhao interrupted, but the fact remains that you violated direct orders by entering restricted space. Elena straightened her shoulders. With respect, Admiral, I followed the higher principle of responding to a distress call, as required by interstellar law. Had we not done so, we would never have uncovered this Dominion plot. Admiral Zhou's expression softened slightly. Your actions have been noted in my report, Captain, as has your tactical prowess in neutralizing 3 enemy vessels while preventing loss of life. But there will be consequences. I accept full responsibility, Elena said. Actually, Zhao said with a hint of a smile, those consequences may not be what you expect. The UNSS Security Council has been in emergency session since receiving your first transmission. They've reviewed all evidence, including the intercepted communications between Dominion vessels that you captured. Elena waited, sensing something significant was coming. 12 minutes ago, Joe continued, the Security Council voted unanimously to issue a formal declaration of war against the Dominion. Your discovery has confirmed intelligence reports we've been gathering for months about their activities along our borders. Elena felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. War, she said softly, the word hanging in the air between them. Yes, but not one we fight alone, Zhao replied. The Council has also authorized me to pursue immediate diplomatic relations with the Nalath, offering them protection and alliance against our common enemy. They'll accept, Alina said confidently. Sentinel Talon has already indicated that the Nalath Council desires formal relations. Then you've not only uncovered a threat, Captain, you've helped secure humanity's first major interstellar alliance. Zhao's expression became serious again. The coming conflict won't be easy. Our intelligence suggests the Dominion controls significant territory and resources, but they've never faced the combined might of humanity and the Nalath. The Harbinger will be ready, Admiral, Alina assured him. I know it will, Captain, because you'll continue to command it. The Council has specifically requested that you lead our diplomatic mission to the Nalath homeworld, once your Nalath passengers are able to provide coordinates. After concluding her conversation with Admiral Zhao, Alina returned to the bridge. The view screen now showed the Nalath vessel secured in the Harbinger's Tau field, its damaged hull gleaming in the light of a distant star. Despite its injuries, there was an undeniable elegance to the alien ship, a testament to a civilization with art and beauty, as well as advanced technology. Course plotted for Outpost Theta 7. Captain, Navigator Chen reported. Ready to engage at your command. Alina nodded and took her seat in the command chair. Engage. Maximum sustainable velocity. As the stars began to stretch and blur with the ship's acceleration, Alina reflected on the chain of events that had led to this moment. What had begun as a response to a distress call had evolved into first contact with a new species and the beginning of humanity's first major interstellar war. The decision she had made would echo through human history, for better or worse. Captain, Paddle said quietly from his station, I've been reviewing the communications we intercepted between the Dominion vessels. There's something you should know. Go ahead, Lieutenant Commander. They referred repeatedly to something called the Great Ascension. From context, it appears to be some kind of religious or cultural imperative driving their expansionism. They seem to believe they're destined to rule all intelligent species in this sector of the galaxy. Alina considered this information. Understanding an enemy's motivations was often the first step toward defeating them, or, perhaps someday, making peace. Have all relevant data transmitted to UNSS intelligence, she ordered, and make sure Dr. Santos includes this in her cultural analysis of the Dominion. Yes, Captain. As the Harbinger accelerated toward human space, leaving the disabled Dominion vessels behind, Alina couldn't help but feel that humanity had crossed a threshold. They were no longer simply explorers and colonists in a vast, mostly empty frontier. They were now players in a complex web of interstellar politics and conflicts, with allies to protect and enemies to confront.